Hey everybody, welcome back to the Bubbly Thoughts podcast. We are on day 23 right now. If you've made it all the way here, hats off to you, my friend. Today, we are going to, I'll start with what I'm drinking. So, happy day 23 of Buzztober. I have my first pumpkin beer of the season so far. So this is Pumpkin Imperial Pumpkin Ale from Southern Tier Brewing Co. In case you can't see the little logo, it's got a little pumpkin guy with a little king hat on and shirt. UCF Knights, go UCF. You guys better fucking win this weekend. My goodness. No, I love UCF. I just am very wanting us to do well this season. So, I just realized I don't have my wedding ring on. Whoopsie daisy. Okay, so today I actually received a couple of requests in my DMs for the same topic, which was real life, like haunted house scary stories. So I am going to look up a thread for us on Reddit. Okay, so I finally found one. This one, it's a thread entitled Serious. Redditors who have lived in a haunted house, what are your most unexplainable paranormal experiences? The first one on here is short, but I think I've read it before. So this first one's written in by Cool Licidal, and it reads, I had fallen asleep at night with my fan running and woke up freezing. I turned it off. Not long after, I woke up hot and turned it back on. The last time I woke up hot once again, and the moment I opened my eyes, I heard the pull of my fan and looked up to see it slowly start to speed up. I said thank you and fell back asleep. So a ghost that's just looking out for making sure that you stay cool. That's funny. I've read that before. I forgot about that one. The next one is written in by NAI75. Moved from the US to the UK, and our parents bought an old beat-up house. It still had lead pipes for the water. Nightmare all on its own. Anyway, work proceeded on the house while we lived there. We started seeing bright lights in the corners of the rooms at night. Footsteps on the floorboards. The house had carpet. I was about 6 at the time and started getting woken up in the middle of the night by a little girl who would dance on my chest of drawers for me. I was freaking terrified. My mum, just fobbed it off as me dreaming. Workmen complained of strange things happening, like tools being moved and odd feelings like being watched. After about a year of this, my eldest sister's friend stayed over one night. She woke the whole house up screaming, saying a little girl had been in her room. She had apparently pulled her from the bed. The friend left the house and refused to ever come back. Mom decided she might need to do something about it and got some advice. He suggested to my mom and the whole family that we should treat the presences as part of the family. What? Is that really a thing? If anybody knows, like, please tell me, because I don't know if I would think to do that or if that's the right idea, but someone correct me if I'm wrong. So when we got home, we shouted, "Hi, we're home. Did you have a good day?" Over time, the house settled and we didn't get any more trouble. We also found out a little girl did die in the house of asthma. My parents still live there, and it is a beautiful, homely place now. Dang, so if that's the trick, that is good to know. That's like a good piece of advice. I've never heard that before. Okay, this next one is written in by Suspicious Palm Tree. I live in a house built in the 1800s. It survived 2 world wars, and it's seen some shit, I imagine. One of the previous owners had 2 sons, who both committed suicide. A lot of strange things happen. The animals, the dogs and the parrots, will wake up from naps and follow something with their heads just as they would follow me if I walk around. Also, before I switched rooms in my house, my brother had a room and he refused to sleep there as he would hear voices. He slept with my parents, he was a child, until the day he got my old room, and since then he has slept in that room without problems. There's also a whole floor we don't use, and I sleep in the attic, and I pass through that floor to get to my attic. Weird explanation, but it's a weird house. And I have motion activated light that goes on as I'm walking up the stairs to that unused floor. It used to switch on in the middle of the night while nobody is walking under the motion detector. Also, there's lots of cold spots. Holy cow. This next one is written in by 1LT Obvious. I lived in a house that seemed to be haunted by doppelgangers. If you haven't listened to a previous episode, I don't remember which one it was, but we talked about doppelgangers. Every event that happened never involved some mysterious figure, but a known person being in a place where they should not have been. Here are a few examples. I was a teenager at the time, and I was instant messaging my girlfriend at the time with my webcam turned on. I had the viewer up so that I could see myself in the webcam. Behind me, there's the stairs leading up left of the camera view. and the entrance to the living room right of the camera view. My younger sister would typically fall asleep every night on the couch in front of the TV and make her way up to bed in the middle of the night. At one point in my webcam view, I saw my sister leave the living room and go up the stairs. The thing that struck me as odd was I didn't hear anything. It was an older Victorian house, so the wooden floor and stairs were loud as fuck. Without saying anything to my girlfriend, I got up and looked into the living room, and there was my sister passed out on the couch. I sat back down and asked my girlfriend if she had seen anything in the camera. She said, "Yeah, I just saw your sister go upstairs." I've never had something happen like that before. Oh my God. The doppelganger thing really is pretty scary because there's a lot of people that have some kind of story or experience with it. It's never happened to me, but hope it never does, honestly. Oh, the other story that he has, or an example that he had was, my family was all getting ready to go somewhere. I was sitting in the car with my mom and we were just waiting on my sister who was still in the house. After a bit, she comes out and gets in the car and just looks at me like, what the fuck? I ask her what was wrong, and she says that just before she walked in the house, she thought I was still inside, so she yelled upstairs. And apparently I yelled back, "Okay, I'll be down in a minute." I'm sweating. I hate this. I hate it so much. Oh my God, yeah, this is really scary. Oh, he has a couple other examples too. Okay, for doppelganger stuff. That's crazy. This is like a lot of, like, he has 3 more examples of this happening to him and his family. My mom woke up to someone tapping her foot, and she said someone was standing at the end of her bed who faded out after a couple seconds. She said it looked like me. I had an encounter where I woke up and felt like someone was under my covers, laying up against me. When I said something, my blanket visibly deflated and I no longer felt anything. I hate that. That's so freaky because that feels so invasive, like, ugh. Okay, and the last example that he has was, when I was 22, I was in the military and I was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. It still took like a year after the diagnosis to separate from the military, but I went home on leave for the holidays about a month after the diagnosis. Anyone that has insulin-dependent diabetes typically carries around some sort of kit. Mine is a black zip-up pouch, and it has a glucometer, insulin pen, needles, and alcohol pads. Right after I left home to head back from my leave, my mom texts me to ask if I'm missing my diabetic kit. I look and I'm not. She sends me a picture of a diabetic kit and asks if I know it. I've never seen this kit before in my life. Apparently my sister went into her bedroom and discovered it outside of her window propped up, like someone had set it there. Oh, also her bedroom is on the 2nd floor. No one else we know has diabetes. Like, how do you explain stuff like that? Like, I want to like be logical about that, but what? Like, what are the chances? Like, if someone that was randomly on your roof, like, I don't even know. I really can't think of an explanation for that. And I feel like that's like the scariest part of the doppelganger stuff. Okay, this next writer, their name is I Most Likely Need Sleep. Oh no, that's not their username. That was me projecting, I guess. Their username is I Most Likely Need Help. A lady who had 2 different husbands die on her in the same house. That's the house my dad decides to buy. Ooh, the first one hung himself from the rafters in the garage, and the second one fell ill and died in his bed in the basement. I lived in the basement room and often just felt like I was being watched all the time. The bedroom in the basement has a secret storage room behind the bookshelf with a locking latch. I would always wake up to find the door wide open. It happened so often that I would wake up cold and routinely go shut and lock the latch of the door in the middle of the night. For the longest time, I thought it was my dad or stepbrothers messing with me, but it wasn't. My stepbrother now occupies that room, and he says it still happens to him, and that he's even seen it open on its own. There are no air vents or anything, so I ruled out wind. Also, in the garage, I always see light coming from under the door through the crack, only to open the door to see pitch black. I've heard sounds coming from the garage only to find saw blades clinging together and slightly rotating in their place on the whole storage wall. Didn't think anything of it at first, but when you find shit moving around on more than one occasion, it makes you look over your shoulder at the rafters and wonder. That scared me for some reason. That one got to me. I don't know why. It's just like I'm picturing like a haunted house. Oh my God. I don't know. I can't. Okay, this next one is written in by Weekly Pie. I lived in a house for about 5 years that was haunted, but not in a malicious way, in a shitty roommate kind of way. I'd come home to the windows on the second floor being open when it was raining, to food containers being open in the fridge that I hadn't touched yet. The worst was that the ghost hated clocks, so I hated them. I had antique cuckoo clocks that had worked for 50 years that would just stop. Brand new wall clocks that ate through batteries like it was candy. My watch ended up on the floor one morning, the crystal shattered, even though I knew I slept with it on. The one that pissed me off the most was that I got a brand new Kit Kat clock for Christmas, and the bitch threw it off the wall. I was cooking, and out of the corner of my eye, saw the cat freaking fly. Turned around and it was across the kitchen, broken, and it was brand new. I can't imagine seeing something just like fly across the room. Oh my God, I hate that. The next one was written in by Denholm 2. When I was around 9 to 10 years old, I remember waking up to see a large shadow that stood at the foot of my bed. I was living with my dad at the time. He has a very large, 5 floors, terrace house built in the 1800s. Every so often, there would be an unexplainable event that happened, such as footsteps when there's no one there, or voices. On the night this happened, it was just my dad and I in the house. My sister was staying with my mom at the time. I woke up and noticed that the door to my room was wide open. I normally sleep with it closed. I then became aware of a large, around 7 foot tall, shadow-like figure watching me from the end of the bed. When the figure noticed me, it seemed to melt into the floor, and the door to my room slammed shut. Understandably, I was slightly traumatized by the whole experience. I asked my dad about it the next day if he was in my room, and he denied any knowledge of the event. He's not the type of person that likes jokes. Oh my God. I'm so sorry if you guys could hear that. Oh my gosh. There's always so many noises that happen in this house, I swear. That was just my washer. I just put some clothes in the washer, which was probably really stupid to do before playing a video, but anyway, this next one is written in by Twig Snapper. My uncle's house out on a very eastern part of New York was said to be haunted due to the family that used to own it in the 1800s, and they decided not to give it to the stableman and sold it instead. He and the maid were said to have haunted the place. He always used to joke that you would hear people or things moving at night, but since the house is so old, we used to just laugh it off. My uncle's friend had her and her sister stay over at the house one night, and the friend noticed a maid bringing towels down the stairs when she woke. She saw the maid again bringing what looked like a percolator down the stairs. She was so impressed by my uncle's hiring staff. He is a neurologist in New York City, so he had a habit of spending a little bit extra. She went back to bed and woke up later downstairs to see my uncle and his friend just chatting. She asked where the maid went, and she thought that the maid was cooking breakfast. My uncle had no idea what she was talking about and asked what she looked like. The sister explained and laughed. Walked her to the living room and pointed to an old picture. She said that was the woman. My uncle replied, yeah, she's been dead for about 100 years. I guess at least it's just a maid doing nice things like folding laundry and stuff, not trying to kill people. Like, that's a good thing, right? Okay, this next one is written in by Starting Over Against. My grandparents have a helpful ghost. Their house was built in the 1860s, and they lived in it since the late 1960s. Over the years, various family members have heard the vacuum cleaner turn on its own, and clothes and towels that were dropped on the floor before having been folded and placed at the foot of the bed by morning. In an intense burst of procrastination one day, I looked up every mention of their address in the town's online newspaper archives and found out that the family that had built the house had a daughter who grew up there, never married and took care of her widowed father until she later died of old age. So I figure the helpful ghost is just the daughter continuing to take care of people like she did for her entire life. Oh, that's nice. Okay. I feel like I'd almost rather have something I can't see than something I can see if it's gonna be like a ghost, because like I feel like in my brain, if it's something I can't see, I can chalk it up to anything, but if I physically fucking see it, I'm either questioning my sanity or I'm terrified, and you can't do anything to a ghost. Like, there's nothing you can do. Call Ghostbusters, I guess, but like, you know, I don't know, man. I don't know. This person, their name is Munchies, and they said this was a repost from an old thread. I lived in a haunted house in college. Things got so weird that everyone moved out except for me and my one roommate. Here's a few. I woke up at 3 a.m. because my roommate's door kept opening and slamming shut. From bed, I yelled for him to stop, only to realize I was the only one home that weekend. As soon as I yelled, the slamming stopped. But the hippie beads I had hanging outside of my closet door began to sway perfectly, yet violently, against the doorframe. For a half hour, while I debated if I should pop out my air conditioning unit and jump out the window. I laid in the fetal position in bed until it stopped. Bro, I do not blame you. So same guy, he has a whole list of, let's see, oh my gosh, there's 11 stories here. Oh, that's my second favorite number, cool. Okay. I woke up at 3 a.m. alone again, hearing the Nintendo in the back porch playing loudly. I figured a drunk kid came in and started playing. I grabbed a bat and walked towards the back of the house as the music got louder and louder. As I opened the door, it was completely quiet. Mind you, it was loud enough to wake me up. I had friends over. Oh, so this is story number 3, sorry. Story number 3. I had friends over and told them that the house was haunted. No one believed me, so I asked the ghost to do anything to prove it was there. As soon as I asked, all the lights in the house began flickering for about a minute straight. This was in the middle of the day. Everyone witnessed it. Story number 4. Almost everyone who stayed at my house had sleep paralysis at least once in the house. His 5th story. Every time something spooky happened, the house would smell like old lady flowery strong perfume. Everybody knows that exact smell. Like, you read it and I swear I smelt it. Story number 6. This house had a door built into the flooring that led to the basement. We always had a rug covering it up so no one knew it was there. Things would constantly go missing in the house and turn up in the basement. This house had a coal chute from when it was heated by coal back in the day. Missing stuff would always be placed on the chute for us to come and get. Oh, that's so weird. Story number 7. My roommate had some issues once while playing video games late at night. He saw mist kind of hovering from the kitchen, then move into the bathroom. The bathroom had a trap door that led to the attic. That's where we figured the old lady ghosts used to like to hang out. Ugh. Ah. Who wants to hang out in the attic? Do you just like become a ghost and you're like, okay, yeah, that sounds fun? Like, you know, the older you get, like, things change. Is that the same thing when you become a ghost? You're just like, oh, I guess the attic isn't scary now because I'm the thing that's the scary thing. Story number 8. My roommate was up late. He went to go lock the doors and turn off the lights. When he turned his back on the room and walked to the door, someone breathed into his ear, "Ha." He thought it was me. I was sleeping. He turned around, pissed himself, and ran to his room. He was too afraid to come out and turn off lights and TV. I would 1000% piss myself, no question. Story number 9. Loud thumps in the attic at all hours. For peace of mind, we told ourselves squirrels must have gotten up there. See, it's not just me. Like, sometimes you're just like, I've got to think about something like logical with this, you know, just for the sake of your own sanity. Okay, and then his last story. Coincidentally, I had a friend years later that rented from the same landlord. Same town, but different house. Where he and all of his roommates moved out because that house was also haunted. I didn't think it was too weird until he was telling me that when all of the weird stuff happened, it was accompanied by old lady flowery stanky perfume. Also, a lot of people had sleep paralysis in that house as well. Ah! Oh my God, it's so scary. So this next writer has a bunch of examples as well, just like the guy before. And the person's username is Lunches and Bentos. There's a post about this somewhere on Reddit I wrote about before, but I'm too lazy to dig it up. My husband and I own a martial arts school. In the building that it's in, which we also own, is about 130 years old. Next to a church, and I never, and still don't really, there has to be another explanation, believed in the paranormal, but the things that happened in it didn't just happen to me. It was decrepit, which was why it was so cheap to purchase, and we basically did all the work ourselves. Old, creaky, and drafty. Still a knob and tube that we had to get an electrician to change out. So here's a bunch of things that happened. Story number 1. When we'd be working with like drills and electric saws, I'd hear the tinkling of a music box, and I'd stop everyone to ask if they hear it too. No one else did, so I assumed it must have been some music from the church coming through. Story number 2. My husband would often hear a woman's voice calling his name from the bottom of the stairs, and thinking it was me back from work, would always ask it to come up. Turns out the building was empty. He said that happened about 4 or 5 times. Story number 3. One night, we woke up hearing what sounded like a broom sweeping across the wooden floors in the large hall. My husband got up to check, but once he would walk in there, the sweeping sound would stop. It happened 3 or 4 more times that night. We chalked it up to mice or squirrels. Ugh, you'd have to, because like, what? Okay, story number 4. We had a barbecue in the backyard and I needed to go get more utensils. There's a metal stairwell from the backyard up to the second floor, and then there's the main entrance staircase opposite to that. I came up the main entrance and heard footsteps pacing back and forth across the far end of the hall and thought my husband came up from the metal stairwell to get utensils with me. It was dark and I couldn't see anything. I called out for him and the pacing stopped. No response, and then the pacing footsteps continued. Annoyed, I thought he was messing with me. So I flipped on the lights and all of the utensils from the shelf where I had... Annoyed, I thought he was messing with me. So I flipped on the lights and all of the utensils from the shelf where I heard the pacing crash down to the floor. Like I spooked something, but there wasn't anything. Not even a rat like I thought there might be. Story number 5. On Saturday morning, my husband was on his computer in another room. I'm in the apartment playing with my Tamagotchi app on my iPad. Oh, what a throwback, holy cow. When I heard the stereo sitting in front of me click on and a girl's voice start talking from it. I thought he controlled the stereo from his computer, so I ignored it because he often puts on music to work out before class. I do remember thinking, what kind of weird ass indie music is he listening to anyway? Because the voice just said, "Hi, my name is... I am blank years old. I'm from blank." I didn't catch any of the specifics because I wasn't really listening, but that went on for about 2 to 3 minutes until it suddenly went, "Something's hurting me." And when I caught that, I looked up and squinted at the stereo like, what? "Something's killing me. Something killed me." At this point, the hair is standing up on the back of my neck, and I'm getting up from the couch to take a closer look. Please, someone tell my parents. Tell the teachers, tell the corrections officer. At the word corrections officer, I just bolt into the other room and start yelling at my husband and cursing him out because I was certain he was playing a trick on me. Told him, we don't fucking play jokes about dead people. And he of course looked at me like, what the fuck? When he finally calms me down long enough to get what I heard out of me and what I was accusing him of, he told me it was impossible and led me to the stereo. It's not plugged in. I thought maybe the stereo picked up the signals from an ebook or something. Okay, I have goosebumps right now. Okay, so they continue on. Let's see. So after that last fiasco, I went to ask our live-in student who lived with his girlfriend in the basement apartment of the building if anything weird has happened. They shot each other an alarmed look and told me this. Number 1, his girlfriend was sleeping one night when he worked overnight and she heard footsteps come down the stairs and their door open and then close. All of a sudden, a bright flashlight shines in her face and she just makes out the silhouette of who she thought was her boyfriend because he's tall, and she can see the dirty jeans he's wearing. She's annoyed thinking he's messing with her, so she swatted at him and told him to stop. Finally, she got so pissed off, she rolled over to turn on the lamp, and there's no one there. Okay, there's 2 more. Okay. Number 2, they sometimes hear footsteps on the first floor and there's no one in the building. They had a pet mouse at the time, and whenever that happened, it would start doing backflips in its tank. I've never seen a mouse do backflips, huh? However, when class is going on and there are people in the building, the mouse didn't care and just went about its mousy business. That mouse knows some. Number 3, they were play wrestling one day when suddenly their African gray parrot ruffled its feathers and in a really alarmed voice asked, "Who's there? Who's there?" They thought it was funny at first, so our student looked at the bird and pointed to the door and said, "You mean over there?" and ran towards the door to open it. As he did that, all the books that were lining the shelf on the way to the door fell over in front of him and the lights started flickering. The bird and the mouse both got spooked and were throwing themselves against their cages. That's awful. How is there more to this post? Hold on. Okay, this is the last part of it, and then we'll wrap up this episode, guys, sorry. Our second live-in student, after the first several times, could just not find his phone when he woke up in the morning when he had placed it next to his bed the night before. He would search his room high and low, and then he'd find it perfectly placed right outside his locked bedroom door on the floor. I thought he might have been sleepwalking, but his girlfriend says she'd realize if he did, since she's a very light sleeper. So I don't know what that's about. And it says nothing notable has happened since then, but we've not had anyone stay there overnight in years. I mean, if you told me all this stuff, I wouldn't be staying overnight. Okay, let's do one more and then we will call this episode quits. This next story is written in by Economy Cactus. When I was younger, I used to take naps upstairs, but by the time I was 8 years old, I absolutely refused to go upstairs. The upstairs had 2 large closets, attics. They ran from one side of the stairs all the way to the other side on both sides. It was essentially a crawl space that was maybe 30 feet long. It started one day when a friend and I went crawling from one side to the other with flashlights like kids normally do. Then I saw a girl sitting there in the corner acting like she wanted to play with us. I know a lot of people say when they see a ghost, they aren't scared, just interested. Nope, I was beyond terrified. Okay, so sorry, my camera died, so if anything looks weird and different, I had to charge it, go do something, and then come back. So I'm gonna pick up where I think I left off. I remember being 8 years old. My parents are asleep still in the morning, and I leashed up my dog to go take on the monster in the attic. My dog usually was up for anything, but refused to go off the top step into the attic. Dogs know, man. My parents never believed me with all the weird things that happened in that house. I would get blamed for things that happened all over that house. Leaving lights on, toys all over, things I knew I didn't do. Well, anyway, we moved out of there when I was 10. Not a week passes before the new owners call us up and ask if the house is haunted. Their daughter sleeps upstairs. She said that she's been playing with a blonde-haired girl at night. My parents laughed at how crazy these new homeowners must be. To make an already long story short, the girl started appearing in other parts of the house for them. They kept in contact with us. They would look over while watching TV and see the girl sitting on their daughter's lap. They looked up on the computer the past owners of the house, found an old ad dressmaker that lived there, and yep, a picture of the little girl wearing one of the ladies' dresses. Ah! The family that moved in there were absolutely torn apart by the events. Got divorced. Ooh, this is grim. And the dad stayed living in that house and ended up taking his own life in that house. Okay, well, I think I'm gonna end us there. I know that was a bit bleak to end us there, but this has kind of been going on long enough. Anyway, thank you guys so much for tuning into this episode of Buzztober, day 23. Hallelujah, 8 days left. This is crazy. But anyway, thank you guys so much for being here. Tune in for tomorrow for day 24, which comes after 23, so math. Anyway, thank you so much. If you guys are loving this, please like and subscribe and click on that notification bell. That way you can get notifications every single time I upload a new video. And until tomorrow, cheers to you, stay buzzed and stay spooky. Bye.